Hello and welcome. We're glad you have joined us. My name is Amit Neal. I'm a Microsoft technical trainer specializing in security and AI. I'm here to walk you through the AZ-305 course, Design Infrastructure Solutions. In this session, we will cover design a solution to log and monitor Azure resources. This model is about designing a monitoring strategy. We're going to look at where telemetry comes from, where it is stored, how it is being analyzed, visualized, and most importantly, how we can act on it. That include design choices for Azure Monitor, Log Analytics, Azure Workbooks, Application Insights, and Azure Data Explorer. Because we can build the best system in the world, but if we can't see what it is doing, we're flying blind. So let's get started with this session. We will begin with the Azure monitoring design. Let's review the main Azure Monitor capabilities. This is your one-stop shop for all monitoring capabilities to collect data from on-premises, hybrid, multi-cloud, and of course Azure solution. Store it securely in Azure Log Analytic workspaces so we can analyze, visualize, and enforce automation if something's being detected. Let's take a closer look to the Azure Monitor capabilities. We can collect data from everywhere, from custom sources. Basically, you can configure a custom path on a custom VM that sits somewhere in on-premises. As long as you're sending the data, we can collect it. We can collect information from our Enter ID tenant, information from our Azure subscription like Activity Log. We can collect from the resource manager and the resources themselves. For compute-based resources, we can collect information from the operating system, host, and guest. We can collect information from the container level, IaaS workloads, and custom applications. We will store the data securely in the Azure Log Analytic workspace that allowing us to consume those insights through Azure Monitor. We can consume built-in insights for application, containers, virtual machine, network, storage, and much more. Those are handled through rich visualized reports called workbooks. We can visualize the data in dashboards and even export it into Power BI or Fabric. We can analyze our data with the Metric Explorer, query the logs with Log Analytics, and we can even query change analysis. Once we know what is going on, we can respond to it with automation handled by alerts and action groups. That is allowing us to consume any kind of service like calling a function app or a logic app to customize the workflow and how do we respond to changes. Let's say that my VM is reaching 70% CPU. Whenever this is happening, this is kind of an event we can collect. Whenever this is happening, I would like to act on it and maybe scale out my solution. That is exactly the kind of capability that we can leverage in Azure Monitor. As long as your system are generating data and send it to us either through agents, through SDKs, or API, we can collect it, including but not exclusive for Windows events, syslogs from Linux, and much more. Now, how do we store securely our metrics and logs? This is designed for Log Analytics. Log Analytics is a service that allows us to collect and analyze data on demand. We can run queries against tables that are collecting all of our diagnostical data from any Azure resource, hybrid environment, and multi-cloud solutions. We will use the Custo query language to quickly query the data. Whenever we are working with Log Analytic workspaces, it is important to take under consideration things like data residency. Where does our data sit? How it is being managed? We can take few approaches to how to manage our Log Analytic workspaces. This is our diagnostical data. So maybe we need to centralize it for our security team. We want to send all the logs into a unified workspace when the security teams can go ahead and query it, analyze, investigate, and act upon any changes. We can take a decentralized approach where each and every application team will be in charge of analyzing and managing their own application logs. They can, of course, configure automation and respond to any changes. The most popular approach is taking a hybrid solution where we will centralize the security logs, the audit logs into a unified workspace where the security team can, of course, analyze and act on it. And for performance counters, operational excellence metrics, the application teams can take care of their own apps. What I really love about the Log Analytic workspace is that you don't necessarily need to have permissions on top of the workspace to view the monitoring data. It is enough to have read access for the resource to allow you to query the monitoring data. So for our centralized security team, we can grant permissions on top of the workspace no matter where the data is coming from. But for our application teams that just need to analyze their own resources, we should not grant permissions over the workspace. A read access for the resource, probably they have more than that, is granting them the visibility to their monitoring data. So even in a shared workspace, every one of them just see what they have access to. That allowing us to provide granularity and centralized visibility for our security teams. Let us explore the recommended design for a single workspace in our IT organization subscription. Our workspace is all about flexibility. There is no need to worry about data sovereignty, compliance, or matching regions with resources. Security and IT teams benefit from better Azure integration and stronger access controllers. All logs from the resources, monitoring tools, and applications feed into one centralized workspace, making analysis simple. Each team can easily access the logs relevant to their resources, so everyone stays informed and empowered. Next up, design for Azure Workbooks and Azure Insights. So, what are workbooks? Those are flexible canvases that allow you to bring together metrics, logs, tables, links, all into one unified, rich, visualized report. So we don't have to query the data over and over again. We can unify for a specific service, for example, performance counters for virtual machines, one workbook that we can easily spot any issues. We have the full flexibility to either consume from built-in templates. Those are really wonderful and can help you get exactly what you need when you need it, get the visual insights right away. Or you can flexibly build your own workbooks to make sure that you have the report that you need for the service that is required, or even on a broader scale to analyze your complete environment with the metrics and logs that matter to you the most. Those will refresh automatically, so you can always keep up-to-date data. Some of the examples of components that you can combine into one workbooks include charts, tiles, honeycombs, and graph. This is a partial list. Keep in mind you can bring much more components so you can get the visual report that you need to analyze your resources and get the insights right away. It is important to understand what is going on in each one of our workloads. We can use Application Insight to deep dive into how the application is being used. What are the trend page views? What are failures that are occurring on the server side, on the browser side? What kind of flows the user are going through in my application? What are the dependencies that we have in there? Application Insights can help you just with that. We can use Azure Monitor for virtual machine insight. That will help us gain a closer understanding of how our VMs are operating, from performance counters and key metrics, even dependency map. So I can easily understand how my application is being built, what kind of communication do I have with other client servers or applications. We also have built-in insights for containers, Azure Monitor for containers, allowing us to monitor our AKS cluster, Azure Kubernetes Service Cluster, in a large scale of all of our clusters and deep dive into each and every cluster, into the node pools, into the pods, up to the processes, gain deep insights for metrics and logs even in real time. If we would like to understand how our applications are being used or operating from all levels of the application, server side, browser side, dependencies, performance, failures, and any other processes that are running, we can consume Application Insight. This is the dedicated solution that will gain you deep visibility in visualize investigation mode all across your application and every single application. We can analyze every single request that is handled by the application, what kind of path it is going, where are bottlenecks, and easily respond to any changes, and of course monitor what the user is doing inside the application. Maybe I have some failed dependencies that is making the user getting stuck in one of the pages. I can quickly detect it, assign owners, and fix it. Application Insights comes with a built-in dashboard, which I love because you get all the metrics that you need right in one place. So you can easily detect issues, understand how your application is being used, understand spikes in latency from server, from browser point of view, the amount of users that are currently inside your application, and availability metrics. Now, we will move for design for Azure Data Explorer. Let me take you back in time. The monitoring solutions were all based on the Data Explorer clusters, a fast and highly scalable data exploration service for logs and telemetry data. It supports near real-time data analytics. It actually got started by building the custom query language to analyze that data. This is a very preformed language that allows us to query the logs by the table and return fast results. The Data Explorer clusters is actually the baseline where we enabled on top of it log analytic workspaces and Azure Monitor. They all use the same unified KQL language. Azure Data Explorer is ideal for a large amount of data and when we need real-time data ingestion and near real-time analytics. Now let's see an example of real-time analytics data with Service Bus and Azure Data Explorer. The data source in the architecture is an existing online transaction processing application. Service Bus is used to asynchronously scale out the application. The online transaction processing application, or data source, is hosted in an Azure App Service. It sends data to the Service Bus. The data flows from the Service Bus in two directions. A. In an existing online transaction processing application flow, it triggers a function app to store data in Azure SQL database, Azure Cosmos DB, or similar operational database. In the B path, in the near real-time analytical flow, it triggers an orchestration flow. The orchestration flow sends data to Data Explorer for near real-time analytics. This flow can use either a function app that uses SDK to send data that used to manage streaming ingestion, support provided by the Azure Data Explorer when it's configured for streaming ingestion. Or a pooling service like an application that is hosted on the Azure Kubernetes service or an Azure VM that sends data to the Azure Data Explorer in micro batches. This option doesn't require configuring the Azure Data Explorer for streaming ingestion. Azure Data Explorer processes the data by using schema mapping and update policies, making it available through an API, SDK, or a connector for interactive analytics or reporting. Applications, custom services, or reporting services like Azure Data Explorer dashboards, Power BI, and Azure Managed Grafana can query the data in Azure Data Explorer in near real time. Here are some additional use cases of near real-time analytics. Healthcare providers can track patient outcome, detect anomalies, and improve quality of care. Manufacturing companies can optimize production, reduce waste, and prevent downtime. Financial institutions can monitor transaction, detect frauds, manage risk, and ensure compliance with regulations. e-commerce company can monitor campaigns and gain insight to support promotions. Let's review what we have learned. We will match the solution on the left to the scenario on the right. So let's begin. We have Azure Monitor, Application Insights, Azure Workbooks, and Log Analytics. If we would like to measure the user experience and analyze the user's behavior for all external-facing applications, what will we use? We can use Application Insights. What if we need to edit and run log queries? For that, we can use Log Analytics. If we need data analysis and creation of rich visualized reports, this is Azure Workbooks. If we need a solution for collecting, analyzing, and acting on telemetry from cloud and on-premises environment, what will be the best fit? We can use Azure Monitor. If we need transaction diagnostic and performance statistics, both from the client and server, what we will choose? That's Application Insights again. And last one. If we need usage information on request rate, response time, and failure rates of an application, what will be our choice? Once again, Application Insight is a perfect fit. In this session, we have designed solutions for Azure Monitor, Log Analytics, Azure Workbooks, Azure Insights, and for Azure Data Explorer. This concludes our design solution to log and monitor Azure Resources module. There are many ways to continue your learning journey. We encourage you to watch other videos in this course or search out your next favorite topic on Microsoft Learn at aka.ms/learn. I'm Amit Nyang. Happy learning.